What if you simply don't feel interested in intimacy the way other people seem to? Have you ever quietly wondered, why don't I feel sexual attraction like everyone else? Or is something wrong with me? Well, the truth is, many people secretly ask these questions, but they feel too nervous or embarrassed to talk about them openly. Some people identify as asexual, meaning they may experience little or no sexual attraction, and that experience is actually a lot more common than many realize. And for others, questions about attraction, identity, and gender can feel deeply personal, emotional, and, sometimes really confusing. So in today's explainer, we're going to talk calmly and respectfully about what asexuality really means, how people experience attraction differently, and why gender identity can exist on a broad spectrum. And we're going to do it in a simple, emotionally safe, and easy to understand way.
Welcome. I am so glad you're here with me today. Let's look at understanding asexuality and the spectrum of identities.
Before we really get into the heart of our topic, I would love to warmly invite you to subscribe to our channel. By subscribing, you're joining a caring, supportive community where we prioritize emotional safety, respect, and learning together. It really helps us continue to create these gentle, educational explainers for anyone out there who might just need a little extra comfort and understanding in their lives right now.
Part 1. You are not broken.
Society places some really heavy expectations on us regarding attraction, relationships, and intimacy. Everywhere we look, on TV and books, there's this constant, overwhelming message that absolutely everyone experiences sexual attraction, and that it's supposedly the ultimate goal of human connection. So, if you've been feeling overwhelmed, confused, or maybe even isolated by those expectations, I want you to just take a deep breath right now. You are in a safe space here. A very common question that often brings people a lot of private, emotional confusion is this: what does it mean to be asexual? Sometimes, just having a clear word to describe what you're experiencing can feel like a massive weight has been lifted right off your shoulders.
So let's break it down simply. Asexuality is a sexual orientation. It simply means experiencing little or no sexual attraction to others. It's an enduring, natural part of who a person is. Think of it this way. Just as some people are naturally drawn to the opposite sex and some are naturally drawn to the same sex, someone who is asexual naturally feels little to no interest in physical intimacy. It is not a medical condition, it is not a fear of intimacy, and it's certainly not a dysfunction. It is a completely valid, entirely normal human experience.
It's actually very common for people to misunderstand what asexuality is, so let's gently clear up one of the biggest misconceptions right now. Asexuality is an internal orientation. That means it's about how you naturally feel or don't feel attraction deep inside yourself. Celibacy or abstinence, on the other hand, well, those are behavioral choices. A celibate person might experience a lot of sexual attraction, but they consciously choose not to act on it, maybe for religious or personal reasons. But an asexual person, they aren't choosing to suppress feelings of attraction. Those feelings are simply not present, or maybe they're just present in very low amounts. So remember, it is about who you naturally are, not what you choose to do.
And that brings us to a question that honestly breaks my heart a little bit, because so many beautiful, caring people ask this of themselves in the quiet of the night. Is something wrong with me if I don't feel sexual attraction? When you live in a world that constantly talks about physical intimacy, not feeling it can make you feel profoundly isolated. It can lead to a lot of self-questioning and emotional distress, simply because society's expectations just don't line up with your personal reality. But I want you to hear me say this, and I want you to really let it sink in. The answer to this question is a resounding no. There is absolutely nothing wrong with you. You are whole, exactly as you are.
If you have ever felt alone in this, I want you to consider this statistic. It's estimated that at least 1% of the population identifies as asexual. Now, in a world of billions of people, that means millions upon millions of people share this exact same experience. Think about how every single movie seems to force a romantic or intimate subplot, even when it really doesn't make any sense for the story, right? It can be pretty exhausting. Well, a lot of experts actually believe this 1% number is much higher, because so many people just haven't found the words yet to describe how they feel. You are not alone. You are part of a vast, global community of people who experience the world exactly like you do.
Another deeply personal question that often comes up, and it's a very understandable one, is, can an asexual person still fall in love? Sometimes people are afraid that a lack of sexual attraction automatically means a lack of human connection, or that they're destined for a life of loneliness. But human hearts are so much more expansive than that. The need for emotional closeness, the desire to be deeply understood, and the capacity to love, that is a beautiful part of being human, and it exists completely independently of physical intimacy. This actually introduces a wonderful concept known as the split attraction model. It's a simple way of showing us that romantic connection, so that's the desire for emotional intimacy, for companionship, for love, is entirely separate from sexual attraction, which is the desire for physical intimacy. Think of them as two different tracks. An asexual person might not experience sexual attraction, but they can absolutely experience deep, profound romantic attraction. They can crave holding hands, having those late-night deep conversations, sharing a life with someone, and falling completely, wonderfully in love.
So, asexual individuals can and absolutely do experience deeply fulfilling lives. They fall in love, they form incredibly deep, lasting emotional bonds, they build families, they get married, and they raise children. And many form profoundly meaningful platonic relationships that carry the exact same weight and commitment as a romance. Everyone's emotional needs are different, of course, but identifying as asexual does not close the door to a life filled with love, connection, and warmth. Not at all.
Part 2. Romance, Connection, and Sensuality.
Sometimes when people feel disconnected from sexuality, they might start to feel disconnected from their own bodies as well. But we can experience our bodies and the world around us in incredibly joyful, safe ways, entirely without the pressure of sexual expectations. It is so helpful to distinguish between sensuality and sexuality. Sexuality involves physical intimacy and arousal. But sensuality, that is simply about finding joy and comfort in the body through your five senses: sight, smell, sound, taste, and touch. Being a sensual person does not mean you have to be a sexual person. You can positively inhabit your body, own your pleasure, and celebrate physical comfort entirely on your own terms.
Let's look at a few examples of safe, joyful sensory experiences. Sensuality can be the simple comfort of wearing soft, cozy clothes on a chilly evening. It can be the warmth of holding hands with someone you deeply trust. It could be the peaceful sound of listening to the rain gently tapping against your window, or the rich, comforting taste of a warm, home-cooked meal. These are beautiful, entirely valid ways to experience pleasure and connect with your physical self, completely outside the realm of intimacy.
Part 3. Understanding the gender spectrum.
Very often, questions about who we are attracted to naturally intersect with deep, internal questions about who we actually are. For many people, questions about identity and gender can feel emotionally overwhelming, and that's okay. We are going to explore this calmly, together, using simple, respectful language. To begin, let's ask a foundational question. What is gender identity in simple words? Just like with asexuality, having clear language really helps ease the confusion. Gender identity isn't about how you look on the outside or what clothes you wear. It is something much deeper. It resides in your heart and in your mind.
To really understand this, it helps to see the gentle difference between biological sex and gender identity. Biological sex refers to the physical characteristics a doctor observes when a baby is born, but gender identity? That is your deep, internal sense of self. It is how you know yourself to be on the inside. Now, for many people, their internal sense of self perfectly matches the physical body they were born with. But for others, that internal knowing is different from their physical characteristics. And I want to be very clear here, both of these experiences are completely natural.
Because human beings are wonderfully complex, gender exists on a broad spectrum, rather than just two strict boxes. It's more like a vast landscape. Here are a few common identities you might hear. Cisgender means your internal identity matches your biological sex at birth. Transgender is a broad, encompassing term for when your internal identity is different from your sex at birth. Non-binary means you don't feel strictly like a man or a woman. You might feel like a beautiful mix of both or somewhere in between. Agender means you don't identify with any particular gender at all. And gender fluid means your sense of gender might gently shift or change over time. Every single one of these are valid, beautiful ways to exist in the world.
Now you might wonder, why do some people feel different from traditional labels? Well, the simplest answer is that human diversity is absolutely boundless. Society has historically created some very rigid expectations for what it means to be male or female, but nature just doesn't always work in rigid boxes. It is perfectly fine and perfectly natural to not fit neatly into a traditional label. Your identity doesn't have to be defined by what society expects of you. It is defined by your own authentic, lived experience.
And really, that is why identity is a deeply personal, emotional journey. It is not something you have to figure out all at once. Whether you are exploring your feelings about attraction or your feelings about gender, this journey requires patience. It requires extending empathy and respect to others, of course, but most importantly, it requires extending grace and patience to yourself. Please do not shame yourself for asking questions or for feeling uncertain. Learning about who you are is a lifelong, beautiful process. Take your time.
Part 4. Embracing your authentic self.
The goal of learning about all these different identities and orientations isn't to force yourself into a new box. It's actually to give yourself the freedom to step out of the boxes that never really fit you in the first place. So I want to ask one final, emotionally reassuring question for anyone who might be sitting there right now, listening to my voice, and thinking, I still don't know where I fit in. Is it okay to still feel confused while learning? Yes, 1,000 times yes. Confusion is just a sign that you are growing, you're exploring, and you are finally listening to your own heart. There is absolutely no rush to find a label, and it is completely okay if your feelings change as you learn more about yourself.
Thank you so much for sharing this gentle space with us today. I know it takes a lot of courage to explore these personal topics, and I am truly honored that you chose to spend this time learning alongside me. Please remember to subscribe to the channel so we can stay connected, and so you can join us for more supportive, caring explainers in the future. We are really trying to build a community of respect and understanding here, and we would absolutely love for you to be a part of it.